today we're talking about anger. You might have felt this before. Maybe you've thought of different ways that you can manage your anger, practice different techniques like breathing. We're going to talk about a new way of supporting yourself when you feel angry. And we're specifically going to talk about how anger is an energy that moves in our body. I'm going to give you one tool that you can use at the end so that you can help yourself in the moment when you feel like anger is rising inside of you and you just have no idea what to do with it. It can be really pressurized, right? And we can end up carrying anger around all day and for days and months and even years because we have nowhere to put it. Lots of the people that I work with, they don't know where to put their anger because they don't want to be dangerous. They don't want to hurt other people, or it's been seen as a negative thing to have anger in the past, right? So we have healthy anger and we have more toxic anger. Toxic anger is the kind that we point at other people. It's the kind that we don't take accountability for. It's the kind that we don't know what to do with over time, and we can't process it, we can't move it. There's no way to get rid of it. So it ends up kind of radiating out of us and impacting our lives and impacting the people around us. Healthy anger tells us that there's some kind of injustice, some boundary has been crossed, or there's something to protect here. So we don't want to wish anger away. We want to put it in its rightful place in our lives. And we want to have tools that we can use when it's really impacting our minds, our bodies, and we feel like a pressure cooker and it feels like there's nowhere to put it. I would love for you to have these tools so that in the moment when you feel so strongly that you don't know what to do with it, you know exactly what you can do to support yourself. So what you'll need today for our practice is just a towel, tea towel, regular towel, a blanket, a sweater. Grab that now so that we can do this practice together if you like. In the somatic way of thinking, anger is something that alerts us that a boundary has been crossed or that there's something to protect here, something important. The thing is when it comes to our survival responses, we might be responding to something that's held deeply inside of ourselves that happened decades ago. It doesn't have to just be from today. And that's why we can carry things and not know why we're reacting in a way that doesn't feel good to us, just at the slightest trigger. Because when we access the anger, it's almost like all of the anger comes back. All of the times that you have been disrespected, all the times that you've seen something unjust, all the times that your boundary has been crossed. And so it feels so charged. Your anger isn't you. And it's not your personality. It doesn't have to be something that you identify with. But I know that lots of people struggle with this because they get labeled as an angry person when they're actually likely really sensitive and have gone through a lot. Obviously, we're not talking about people who are actively, maliciously abusing with anger. Obviously, we're not talking about people who want to hurt, right? Who want to wield their energy in that way. We're talking about the people who are self-aware, who have enough capacity for introspection that you're here, right? So we're talking about this anger that feels stuck, that you don't know what to do with. So in somatic work, anger is part of our primal energy. It's our creative life force. It's the same energy that is our creativity, our sexuality, our drive. It moves us, it mobilizes us, and we want access to it. Where do you feel it in your body? Check, like if you were to just kind of really loosely, gently imagine, where does anger live in the body? You might come up with places like You feel it in your jaw. There's often a lot of jaw tension. You might feel it in your chest, like it feels like your chest is tight or it's kind of crunching in a little bit. In your shoulders. You might feel it in your fists, that your hands want something to do. Your hands are tingling. Maybe there's heat. And all of this is because this is a survival response. There's adrenaline, there's cortisol, there's tension, there's changes in your vision and your hearing that happen with this response. So you're gonna notice a physical impact of it. And the other side of this is if we're not in touch with our anger, if we're not in touch with how our body wants to move this energy, you might feel numbness in these areas. So maybe your shoulders and chest are numb. Maybe you can't feel your arms or your hands, and that's okay. That oftentimes it means that we don't have access to this. Maybe it's because we weren't allowed to be angry in the past, or being angry actually got us in more trouble or wasn't safe. So we're going to teach your body a safe way to move through this today. So grab your towel. We're going to activate these areas and move this energy. This is something that I learned from the subconscious imprinting technique team through their program. It's so simple. And as I'm laughing because I actually used this yesterday. I was on my way to go marching down my hall to give somebody in my house a peace of mind, right? The reason I know a lot about anger is because I've experienced it, right? I have moved through a lot of this in my own body. I was marching down the hallway to give somebody a piece of my mind, but luckily my towel closet is in between my kitchen and my den. So I'm walking down and I just stop at the closet and I grabbed a towel and I did this. So I just grabbed one and I took it and I went like this. You can do this anywhere. You just squeeze it. Notice you're activating your hands, your arms, your chest. Oftentimes when people do this, they kind of almost do a little growl like, do this a lot with my clients. And at some point, you might notice a big breath come through. You might have noticed that in my body, a big breath came through, right? This only takes, listen to yourself, but it only takes 20, 30 seconds or a minute or so. Listen to how it moves in your body. And then when you're finished, just pause and see if you can notice what's different. Maybe it's not so pressurized. Maybe there's not so much urgency anymore to go and tell somebody off or do something, right? The urgency will come down. And if I could give you just a tip for how to take care of yourself when you're doing this, if we're remembering that this anger has a protective function, that it's protecting something tender and worth protecting, right? Then we know that underneath that anger is probably something along the lines of vulnerability or fear or hurt, most likely some kind of hurt. And so if you can get yourself to a place where you could sit down for a moment and breathe with yourself or lie down so that you can also acknowledge and be with whatever's underneath that anger. Usually the ways that people have tried to practice supporting themselves through anger has been something along the lines of take some deep breaths or tell themselves to calm down or walk away. And while I support all of the ways that you take care of yourself, let's just talk really briefly about why something like this works more than telling yourself to calm down. If you watch my videos, I'm very anti calm down. Because I think that it actually makes us suppress ourselves. It makes us override how we really feel to achieve some kind of idea of calm that isn't actually true in our bodies, because calm is not a method. Calm is a destination. Calm is a place that we get to when our body feels safe. So we don't, I don't like to tell people to use it as a way to get there. So sure, if you take some deep breaths, it might work. If you tell yourself to calm down, it might work. If you walk away, it might work. But you might also be left with this physical charge, the tension, the heaviness of the anger. And that's because this anger is a survival response. It involves physical elements in your body. And survival responses, they want to be completed, not stopped. So if we tell ourselves to calm down, we're basically telling our body, there's nothing here to protect, don't worry about it, you're safe. But do you see this motion? It's kind of like, you're safe, go away, right? And usually our body is not going to believe us if we just tell it that it's safe. We have to show it. And so showing it looks like completing the movement, completing the action that survival response wants to do. So if you think about anger, it's like it's a fight response, right? It brings us up into our upper body. It brings us up into our voice, into our jaw. It wants to move. It wants to protect. It wants to create space. And so we can use these muscles in order to do that. So when you just tell yourself to calm down, you're not actually engaging this part of you that needs to do something with that energy. Let me know what you'd like to learn next. I would love to hear in the comments if you tried this and how it felt. I'd love to hear where you feel anger in your body, and tell me what emotion that you'd love to learn about next.